Good afternoon. This meeting of the Preservation Board is now in order. I'm going to call some roll. Commissioner Bassman, are you here? Here. Commissioner Benton-Taylor, are you here? Alderman Commissioner Schmidt, are you here? Commissioner Johnson, are you here?
Yes.
I am also present. Did I miss any commissioners? Okay, good enough. Commissioners, has anybody read the minutes from the May 19th meeting?
We did.
Okay, do I hear a motion in that regard? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. As we approve the minutes, hearing no objections, the minutes are in fact approved. Commissioners, looking at the agenda, I see that we have 6 remaining items. Items G, H, I, and J have been deferred. Is this order okay to hear them? Okay. Then, barring any further changes, this will be our agenda, and I will call agenda item A, Tilly's Corner first.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and members of the public who are here. I'm Betsy Branda, the Director of the Cultural Resources Office, and we're here to consider 2 proposed city landmarks. And the first one is Tilly's Corner. It's located here on North Garrison at Sheridan and Winston Corner. As the board may remember, about 2 years ago this summer, Carla remembers, we were here to consider the National Register nomination of the historic buildings that on that site that are depicted here. And that nomination, we recommended it. The nomination got through the state. It is pending listing by the National Park. The events indicated that it would go otherwise. And Carla can tell you a bit about that later. The buildings were damaged and they partially collapsed and had to be demolished. So then several things have happened at that time. I want you to know that Carla and Miguel Alexander, who own the property and were pursuing the National Register nomination and to rehab the building, have continued to tell the important story of Ms. Tilly's business and community work that took place in this corner of the city. They expanded their work to highlight other properties that are important in the city's history and particularly Black history. And they lived across the street from their former home, and they watched the construction of Butterfly Homes on Tilly's Corner and have made arrangements for further development of the property that you'll hear about in a minute. And so things have not been static since the historic buildings were lost. And it's obvious, I think, to you, will be as we go along this afternoon, that this proposed landmark is more about cultural heritage than about bricks and mortar. It's about what members of our community do and implement day-to-day work. Yes. So Ms. Tilly's was very situated here in the Jeff Andrews neighborhood. And so even though we've had some loss, we have a lot of continuity and some other factors. I admit it's a little atypical in our landmark process, and I'd also like to remind you how broad our definitions of landmarks are, and we have several criteria, and we're not confined by age or particular type of property, that we have some freedom to landmark what's important to most of our cities. And so here's the Tilly's Corner as it appears today. You can see there in the background the gray and blue house, Butterfly Home, referring to the shape of a brook. In the foreground, we see the recently completed fence that will enclose the community garden. And over on the right is the garage that was behind the historic building that will be kept in use. So here's a site plan showing the garage and the house on that corner there at Sheridan and Garrison. You'll see it's right here, the Dunbar School on the other side of Sheridan. It's in a neighborhood where there's several of the Habitat for Humanity houses and some other houses. Here's the development plan for Ms. Tilly's Corner, showing the garden there that would be behind the fence. Between the garden and the house is a plan for memorial or reference to the food shop. The food shop is important in many ways, as you'll hear. Both as the businesses that Tilly operated, where decided for community work and all those things. And then on the southern part of the property, there's plans for a playground and bicycle trail for children with special needs. So there's a definite plan for the development of the site. We did wait to bring it forward as a landmark until there was some there, that the home was built and the garden was being installed in the spring now, of May, July, the garden was installed. So by the time that this was designated as city landmark, the garden. So let's leave that site plan up for a minute, and I'll remind you again about some process and some steps. Quite a number of official steps to go through to present a landmark for your consideration. And I'd like to thank Carla Alexander, who's joined the Landmark Association. Thank you for preparing a portion of the landmark petition. We've been to the Planning Commission and to the Board of Public Service, notifying them of this official landmark, and they have advised the Cultural Resource Office that they consider the proposed designation that would have a positive impact on the civic development of the city and fit within the city's strategic plan. The petition points to criterion A, which we often use, but we're really focusing in on the cultural value and heritage and cultural characteristics of the city. And the statement of significance reads in part that, in particular, it represents important cultural practices, building community, social activism, and assisting others. Butterfly Home, Garage, and Community Garden, located at 1345 to 55 North Garrison Avenue, represents a former residential commercial building on the site. So we have to have two other components, the landmark plan and the landmark standards. The landmark plan is to continue to use the property for social activism, relating primarily to education and preservation, and it supports the work of Tilly Warner Organization, a not-for-profit that's being formed, has the same name as the physical site, so there's very strong overlap in the identity of the two. The landmark standards, instead of being the typical ones based on the Secretary of Interior standards, were drawn from that, but allowed more latitude for adding items to the site that further the Tilly's Corner. We would review them and in typical ways, but there's no requirements for maintaining exactly what's there on the site at the time, that it could be a more active site, that any construction that did take place would be permanent, well done, or temporary, and removed in a timely way, so that any situation here. Now, rather than remind you of the story of Tilly's Corner myself, I'd like you to get a sense of this landmark, and I'd like Carla and Miguel Alexander and someone they brought with you today to demonstrate how Tilly's Corner is about making connections with the past and the present and future in ways that we don't always think of in historic preservation, but are very important. So I'd like to turn it over to you. Oh, but wait a minute. There's one more thing I need to do. At the front page of the agenda item, you'll see the three things you need to do. I'm sure it's just remind everybody. We have to have a public hearing on this, and the next item on the agenda, the board needs to decide whether to recommend the approval of the petition as presented with all provisions or not to recommend it, and then also to make a recommendation that it prepare the signatures that the Board of Aldermen that they have elected. So, the hearing, question about the petition, the election. But,
let me make sure I understand. We could, in fact, have a public hearing right now?
yes, I think what you did, you said you just, convert the meeting to a public hearing.
Did we post it as such? Just so there isn't a problem later.
I don't think we usually.
It's on the agenda.
In the agenda item, it says the.
Is it your opinion that this meeting was properly posted?
Yes.
Okay, good enough.
Okay, so maybe you want to open the hearing before I turn over the podium or however you want to do it. But I have said everything I have, but I will have the landmark standards and other things here in case you have any questions. But I thought you'd rather hear from someone. Heritage property.
Commissioners, do I hear a motion to suspend this meeting and convene a public hearing on this notice subject. Objection? Okay. We are now convened as a public hearing on the matter of the landmark designation for Tilly Corner.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It was 2 years ago, I'm sorry, Carla and Miguel Alexander.
Hello. How you doing? It was 2 years ago that what?
It was 2 years ago, we were here in the audience, and we were about to experience something that was new to us for the first time. And it was to be considered, our nomination to go forward for the National Register of Historic Places. And I remember Karen speaking on our behalf and saying that we were really scared, we didn't really want to come up and talk. But since then, we've kind of started gotten the jitters out, and we've come a long way on this project with Tilly's Corner. We don't have to say a lot. If you look at the screen, it started with us really discovering that Tilly's Corner existed on the Confident Drive maps of 1875. And then our grandmother's business, 1948 to 1988, the buildings as they stood in 2002. Of course, everybody remembers the collapse we had December 20th, 2012. Had to get all the buildings torn down. And then the blessing of E.M. Harris Construction Company coming along and saying, you guys really work hard to keep that history in the neighborhood, and we really want to help you. Tilly's Corner is part of the Missouri History Museum's 250th birthday celebration. And then, in memory of our grandmother, we want to continue the heritage, the history of the neighborhood, teach the children, and to continue that legacy going. So we'd like to introduce Mr. K.P. Dennis, and we want to do something a little different today. We're actually going to be able to tell the story and give you more history than we could.
We're going to lighten up this mood a little bit. Yeah, doing legal counsel, distinguished gentlemen and ladies, how you doing? Good. My name is K.P. Dennis. My profession is urban music programming. I have a class of students, about 25 kids from 8 to 18, who I mentor, and I teach them the arts of hip-hop. I teach them other genres of music as well, teach them about, life a little bit, take them under my wing, and, this is a song. The backstory to this song is Mr. Miguel and Miss Carla. These wonderful two people, they told me about Tilly's Corner. Now, my mom knew about Tilly's Corner, but, I was a little young or whatever at the time. But when I read the story, I was so, engrossed into the story that it compelled me to write the song that I was commissioned to write. And I'm going to share the song with you guys today. Hopefully this mic doesn't keep cutting off. All right, so let's get going. Read along. April 17, 1915, a baby girl was born who was this on the scene. Miss Tilly Bell, all of the 6 or 7 siblings, was in Arkansas. She was living, her mother passed away when she was only age 4. Mama for the days of a dreaming of a school, she wasn't dedicated to working with a spirit, so the mind still a father fell ill when she was a kid at 9. She labored in the field, had to quit her education. To take care of her father when he needed medication. Avoid separation, kept the family together, but before he passed away, she fell in love with a fella named Charlie Goodman. November 14, 1934, came with a wedding ring. 11 months later, the first child was born. So tell me what the name of the morning that we going to D, the I, the L, the L, the I, the D, the J. Come on, Miss Tilly. We on the corner, Tilly. Miss Tilly out here. the I, the E, the T, the I, Miss Tilly. We on the corner. After 5 beautiful years, just a little weight gain. She was made into a widow, cause right now she's struggling in a rockin' up Wi-Fi. Lost single mother, and she had to fit some really big shoes, so she moved from the south to just Honolulu. Could've took a job at the post office, but she knew the vision was to keep the family together, children. And destiny led her to the 3 historical buildings that her brother pointed out, so she checked on his 20 card steal of a deal warrant for 2.6. From 48 to 88, 40 years straight, she became a breadwinner, put his dinner on his plate. The T, the I, the L, the L, the I, the E, the T, the I, Miss Tilly. Yeah, Miss Tilly. The T, the I, the L, the L, the I, the E, the T, the I, Miss Tilly. Last verse. From 5 in the morning to 11 every night, she was improving the quality of inner city life, a community hub, kept jobs in the hood, whether young or old, made the dog feel good. 13, 45, 55 is fly, and nothing beats the failure but a try. On the corner of Garrison and Sheridan Avenue, train through generations, show them what to do. Longevity is definitely formulated. The operators told us on authorities, notice it for the day. That's why she stepped in and put it on the map. And after more than 100 years, the building collapsed. December 2012, the task got major. Bridge installation over with tall paper. It's all that remained for the grandkids alive. That's what you can order in the legacy alive. 91 good years, and I know she sees this. Even though she passed away in 2006, and just don't quit. It's never gonna stop, cause we doing it for granny. We women at the top. It's the T, the I, the L, the L, the I, the T, the I, the I. Come on. On the corner, Tilly. Talk about me. The T, the I, the L, the L, the I, the E, the T, the I, Miss Tilly. We on the corner, Tilly. On Tilly's corner. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No, Jay.
Over here?
That's fine. Can you take your voice above the machine right there?
All right. Hi, I'm Karen Bodie Baxter, and it was 2 years ago that we were here with great hopes that the buildings would be able to be saved. But it was a very collaborative community effort at that time, brought in Washington University students who did a lot of research. Carla and Miguel learned how to do a lot of historic research themselves, and they have continued to do that. We have gathered, and when I say we, I mean they, have gathered even more information about what their grandmother has done in the years that she operated the store there. But they've also continued, even with the collapse of the buildings, to continue to be a viable part of this neighborhood and to make sure that this story is told, because this is one of the few stories that we have where we are telling about the heritage of the common, everyday people who lived in this neighborhood. A woman who was trying to raise her children and feed the people who lived in the building next door and keep the neighborhood kids from getting in trouble, and operating her business in this area. But she also was active, as Carla found out recently, as she was cleaning out some papers. She was active in getting people registered to join the NAACP. And so she was a neighborhood activist. And just as she was also trying to make sure it was safe in the neighborhood for the kids, and making sure that they had food, and they're trying to carry that heritage forward and trying to teach the next generation of children, and they want to show them what this heritage is all about. And for that reason, I do think it's important that we consider this as a landmark, because it does continue to tell the story about this part of our cultural history and our heritage in this community. And so I'm here. I was asked by Andrew Weil and Ruth Kenoy, who could not be here today, to let you guys know that they also wish they could be here to support this today. So that's me.
Have we ever done this before?
Have never done this in terms of a local landmark that's not a historic building? Is that what
It used to be a historic building that was...
I don't know. But we were talking before the meeting started, and back many eons ago, when I first started writing National Register of Historic Places nominations, there is a part on the form that says buildings, structures, objects, sites. And I was in Oklahoma at the time, and we nominated a number of sites to the National Register, not just battlefield sites, but the site of a former building, the site of the Cherokee Female Seminary, because there was no building left, but it was still a very important setting and place in the Cherokee Nation history in Oklahoma. So it's not as if there isn't a precedent for nominating sites because of their cultural and importance to the history of our community in that sense. Okay?
Thank you.
Right.
This is a public meeting. Who else would like to speak?
Mr. Chairman, I have an email I'd like to read into the record for the public hearing. This is from Michael Allen. This is Betsy Bradley, Cultural Resource Office Director and members of the St. Louis Preservation Board. I write in strong support of the city landmark petition for Tilly's Corner, a site both whose cultural heritage and educational value to its neighborhood is indisputable. The site truly reminds us that buildings mean something because of people. Our cultural heritage is larger than only the buildings that embody the past, and this petition recognizes that fact. Tilly's Corner stands for many sites where history survives through the often intangible but inexorable force of cultural significance. In the absence of the building, the site remains uniquely historic. There are other places in the city like Tilly's Corner, sites where we may not have the most obvious architectural traces of the events that have shaped our neighborhood. I hope that the Preservation Board is favorable to this petition and future petitions that seek to honor similar sites that tell stories despite building on. Sincerely, Michael Allen.
Did you add the sincerely?
I didn't. Here I go.
I wonder. Anybody else like to speak at the public meeting? Do I hear a motion to adjourn the public?
Motion to adjourn the public meeting.
Objection? Second? Second. Objection? None? Okay, thank you very much. The public hearing is adjourned. I would like to continue the Preservation Board meeting and ask that a motion regarding the petition submitted by the property owner be made.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the petition as submitted by the property owner signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Commissioners, I have a motion asking that a bill be prepared and submitted to the Board of Aldermen. Discussion?
Question, when this happens, will there be some kind of a board or a marker, a little bit of history, for people 20 years down the road or whatever?
Yes. Actually, the memorial part, where you see the
Well, they
indentation.
didn't say. It's fine. No, we're fine.
Thank you. Go ahead, Dave.
Oh, I mean, the noise that comes out of this audience sometimes, this is nothing.
And these are names, Mr. Trees and
Then definitely.
Yes.
You can say anyway, but still.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Well, thank you. But yes, the indentation, well, you can't see from the fencing, but the fence line is indented in the front, the street garrison, and, okay, you still really can't see it, but we have a big thank you board right now. But the memorial site is indented, and we would like to put a memorial monument of some sort. We say brick, we say the red brick, the green and white glazed brick. We say the coping tile, the stars from the building when they fell. So we're wanting to design something that will memorialize what used to be there and raised for, and that's where we'll go.
Good. Commissioners, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Agenda item B, 1401 North King Street.
My second landmark under consideration this evening.
The bar is set pretty high.
It is. But I think it's interesting too, though. also has to do with Black history, so, and several of our recent churches have as well. So we have kind of a run of city landmarks of Black history, which I think is terrific. Look at a New Age federal savings and loan building now. I can give you a little background. We had recognized this building when we did our non-residential mid-century modern survey, and we finished in 2013 as we were looking for diversity in building types throughout the city, and had recognized this handsome bank building on North King Highway. So when Mr. El Cardo D. Moore called me, I think it was in March, picked up the phone one day, and he called me, said, I'm the owner of the New Age Federal Savings and Loan Building. I know that. And I know that building, I meant. And he was very enthusiastic about the history of the building, and we talked about the National Register and City Landmark designation at his phone call. And I told him we did have some information on the building that we could pursue a city landmark petition in the relatively near future. And I had another landmark that was queuing up to be considered, and we could go through the process together. So he asked me to go ahead and Mr. Moore lives over in Illinois and was unable to be with us today. And he asked me to pass on his regrets and to assure you that he is support of the designation. So we have a petition that is kind of a tip of the iceberg petition. I think it does its job well to lay out some of the basic reasons that this building is historically significant. Certainly much more could be said about New Age federal savings and loan and the impact it has had on building wealth in the Black community. I spoke with the alderman about this. He said, oh, yes, I had a savings account there as a child, and my family did as well, and that's the response that I've been giving. So we have, again, perhaps more conventional landmark property here, one that we can recognize for its architecture and its history. Here is the North King Highway facade, and this was built in 1958 just as banks were beginning to build sort of the branch bank or the neighborhood bank that emphasized informality and service rather than the formal columns of the classical imposing bank architecture. So we have an example of that neighborhood, what would be kind of the neighborhood bank, even though, and it was in some sense a neighborhood bank, but we have the stone ashlar facades and banks of windows and entrance shutters and a canopy. Here is the building in its side, shows you we're just a couple of blocks south of Dr. Martin Luther King, in a commercial area there that big, that's a former store across the street. And so it's in the heart of one of the neighborhood commercial areas of the building. Here's the back side, and this is what I think is really interesting with the arrow on top. That facade was curved, so you would enter the property off of King Highway on that side. You could stop the night deposit box there right by the corner, or drive around to the drive-up service window. And curved form of building there facilitated that. There's another view that shows another bank window facing south and the location of that. So we had all the modern conveniences, which today is right. So the statement of significance in the landmark petition reads, New Age Savings and Loan Property Criterion A is a pioneering Black business in St. Louis and Missouri, with significant characters as part of the development, heritage, and cultural characteristics of the city and the state of Missouri. Established in 1916, New Age Federal Savings and Loan remained the only Black-owned financial institution in St. Louis into the 1960s. In 1958, New Age moved into this purpose-built bank building, 1401 North King Highway, designed by St. Louis architect W.E. Duncan. After that, New Age Federal boasted of one of America's most beautiful financial buildings. The savings and loan provided modern service with drive-up banking and several teller windows inside, as well as a competitive interest rate. The all-Black staff served customers in the modern New Age facility. That was evidence of Black success. So this actually is, in a different way, a wonderful melding of what a building can convey about the function of the house after being located in, I'm not sure what other buildings New Age had occupied in time it had some of these demonstrated modernity and success. So that was sort of very important things for the Cultural Resource Office prepared the landmark petition. Once again, the Planning Commission and the Board of Public Service have endorsed the proposed landmark as have a positive impact on the physical development of the city. The landmark plan is to maintain occupancy in the building. It's currently a rental property occupied by Fourth Glory Apostolic Church. The landmark standards are based on the Secretary of Interior standards as is common, and they emphasize maintaining the historic character of the building by allowing minor changes to accommodate. Here's a couple of other view of the entrance and the driveway. This is engaged puzzle, and I have not received any communication from anybody. So we need to go through the same process.
Counselor, is it your legal opinion that this meeting was properly publicly noticed?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioners, without objection, suspend this meeting and ask for a motion that we reconvene at the public hearing.
So,
Okay. Are now in public hearing. Who is here to speak on this matter? Commissioners, can I hear a motion to close the public meeting? We will do that. We will now reconvene as the Preservation Board. I'd ask for a motion to approve the petition as submitted by the property owner. So moved. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I mean, I understand this, and I understand the cultural significance and the economic significance and all that. I always have this issue about how many buildings are going to get historic impact. And I have a bunch from the turn of the century.
This is a local nomination, so actually it's purely honor. It doesn't.
Okay, so they're not...
So he may pursue National Register with the United States, or maybe not, I don't know. We talked about it and someone interested, but yeah, this just kind of gets him on the map as a important landmark property.
I would say naming a bank in 1915 New Age actually was a New Age.
And I think what's interesting too is for the next black bank, the Gateway Bank. And so they picked up on the Gateway Arch. And so it was a very modern important name as well. So we are about to lose that thanks to the so this will be
For the discussion. Hearing none, the motion on the floor has been made and seconded. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Commissioners, could I have a motion regarding the preparation of a bill to be considered by the St. Louis Board of Aldermen? So moved. Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion? Commissioners, hearing none, the motion on the floor has been made and seconded. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Commissioners, take a 5-minute break. I gotta call
thank you. My grandmother had a store too in Oklahoma, and I brought Cherokee. mean, that never, yeah. Kendall, how's it say?
She's a year, May 29th.
Yeah.
Here, I'll take her.
When I looked at that, I was thinking, we should have previous
The rent on their new lease was more than anything they could charge customers of like.
The landlord agrees.
That was a more. Absolutely.
What's your name? Yeah.
I like the fact that no matter what we like.
I tell everybody about it. Right, yeah,
They program that way.
Yeah. So you guys.
Really fun. I went to two comedy nights. I think you fight.
Oh, okay.
That's much more fun, man.
Yeah, I bet you did. All right.
I wasn't down with Green.
Yeah, no, I can't do that. Like, my day, pretty good. I was down there for a while.
This meeting of the Preservation Board is back in session, calling agenda item C, 1100 Dolman.
Jan Cameron from the Coastal Resources Office. I don't have to promise to tell the truth on this one, right?
No.
Okay, this is a proposal to construct a new single-family house on this lot on Dolman Street. Now, we've been seeing a lot of new construction on Dolman the last couple of years. This is down in the northern end, which is the most intact part of the street, but it's still not entirely intact, as you'll see. This is the site. What happens is I believe that there are 3 currently vacant lots in addition to a couple of others, but the 2 in question are being purchased by 2 different property owners that will split different. So this would be like a lot and a half. That in mind, and that's a lot. And this is the proposed site plan with the attached garage at the alley behind the house. This is the model example, which is one of the nicest houses in the square. And the proposed design will follow the model example in all aspects. We have the agreement of the potential homeowner. And it will also copy it on the secondary elevation, which will be the south facade, which you can see is articulated in the model example. So a couple more details. Beautiful house. And the proposed
elevation. Now, there is one deviation, and that is, if this is working, is that this particular drawing shows the L at grade. I believe in the model example, it is actually up on a foundation, and the homeowner has agreed to do that in his new building as well. This is the context. This is the house to the north and the site. What you see here, you remember the catastrophic fire that happened last year. This is the site there. They haven't quite finished demolition. Another kind of singleton on the south end, and then the church. Opposite the block is better. Some new infill structures. And Second Empire directly across the street. So, the proposed design will comply with all of the requirements of the historic model example, and the staff is recommending approval, subject to final review by the Coastal Research Office. Questions?
Questions, Commissioners? Thank you. Applicant present? Come on up. Questions for the applicant?
My name's Kyle Miller.
That's all we needed.
There we go.
Thank you. Revenue, you got a motion?
Yes.
I'm sorry, hold on a second. Hold on a minute. Oh. Yes, Melanie.
Yes, I move that the Restoration Board grant preliminary approval to the proposal for new construction as the application meets the Lafayette Historic District standards.
Is there a second? Second. Discussion? When you hear commissioners going, ooh, ah, you don't have to say anything. There's a motion on the floor, made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations. Built something really nice.
Supposed to work, isn't it?
And Kyle is going to build the cornice himself, right?
Correct. Wait a minute. No. Agenda item D.
Okay, 1720 Carroll. You all recall, I'm sure, the private properties development of Carroll on the south side. This is another house to be constructed on this lot. And the question before you this evening is not the design of the house itself, which has been previously approved, but the owner would like to add a side porch to the house. There it is.
There you go.
This is a side porch, which the model example that all of the other houses are based on does not have. Some wide steps going down to a patio. Again, this is a double lot or a lot and a half, and therefore they would like to have access to their side yard. What I'm submitting to you this evening is some drawings that I just received that show a sightline study showing the visibility of the porch, given that there will be a privacy fence erected at the building line, or just one foot behind the building line, as required by the standards, and also some elevations. These are on the second page. It shows reconstruction, but I have a photograph of that coming up. But the problem is not just that the historic model example used does not have a side porch, but the fact that side porches on historic buildings, which is what this is supposed to follow, were generally relatively narrow and only 5 or 6 feet deep. See, this is about 10 feet deep, so it's considerably larger in scale than would be a historic porch. The elevation of it. It says that there will be a fence here. This is a model example of a porch submitted. It's in Benton Park. And what you see here is the porch from the street, which is actually very narrow and very traditional. It seems to open up at the back. It also has a garage door under it. So this porch has had some alterations. I'm not sure exactly how much of it is actually historic. certainly understand a wall is, however, so that would seem to argue that this in fact has a somewhat deeper width than is traditional. And then this is just the existing context of the site with the 5 houses that have already been built. So, yes, here we go. So here's a model example for our fence to show you exactly how much, or just to try to estimate. I would say that the porch would be approximately visible that much. Now, the historic district standards do say that fences are considered to be permanent and that anything hidden behind them is not visible. So what we're seeing based on the sightline study that you have before you is about the upper half of the porch. Still very big, so the staff can't support the porch at its current width and would like to see it, the width decreased somewhat. And that is our recommendation.
Commissioner's questions? David, questions?
No, I would like to say, I think this is on fence in place, not in fire.
It is.
Director stepping away. Melanie?
Well, would it be in the standards to lengthen the porch rather than have it, sort of more like Charleston, South Carolina, which I know this is not, but, more, just for more entertainment use.
As far as I know, there is no model example in the square with a porch like that, which is a requirement of the standard. That it not just be a historic porch, it actually be in the square, or had been.
You might see what's on your front porch, David.
Yeah, David.
Did we lose a house here, or was this always a wider lot for this one?
I believe that one house is not being built of the original 7 that was built. Right. Now they're going to be 6. So this will always have a wide side yard next to it, and the elevation will always be exposed.
Now you got a question?
Yeah, I don't understand, there's some reference here to the fact that, there was a revised historic. So, did the earlier one speak to the porches at all?
The original proposal of the new infill along Carroll was done just prior to the adoption of the revised standards. However, the developer at that time agreed voluntarily to abide by the pending standards.
Right.
So he followed the model example.
Right. So the earlier ones didn't require a model example?
Did.
They did, and the preservation
So
board.
tell me what the difference is, why it's so relevant that it's in here that I pay attention to that. I want to know what I'm looking at. Am I supposed to, should I chide them for not presenting this, as I know I will? They didn't present this when they did their original plan, and what could they have done if they chose not to do in that original?
Well, I want to speak for the developer, but my understanding is that no one intended side porches. This is a new homeowner that would like to have a wide side yard with a porch, and she, I think, is going to testify in a minute about that.
What's the difference here with regard to porches between the earlier version of the Lafayette Square ordinance?
The historic model example requires secondary elevations that are visible to also follow the model example. It doesn't do that because the model example for all of the buildings, the same building, didn't have a side porch. So that's one thing. And then there is also a stipulation for new appendages that requires that they be based on a historic model example.
So that in the new one wasn't anymore.
In the old one, you could get a model example from Benton Park or anywhere else, right?
So this is somewhat of a time.
Right, but Jan, if I remember this one, there was no, unlike what Kyle Miller just presented, when we approved this project, there was no true model example. It was kind of, they picked elements from various ones.
No, there was a model example.
Are you sure?
I'm almost positive.
Because I remember having Harry Houston's been here testifying that the intent was that they pick some pieces.
I believe the model example is on the first sheet of the set of drawings I just passed out. So all of the 7 proposed new townhouses were to be based on that model example, and they have been. The deviation on this one is the large size porch.
Okay, well, then the other deviation is we're losing a unit now?
And that also.
So that's the thing that bothers me the most, is that you don't have you have a gap in the street facade.
You got this, yeah.
So which one's not getting built then?
One between the blue and the, one to the left of blue house.
So towards 18th Street? That one.
I believe this lot hasn't been sold yet. Is that right, John? Yeah. All the rest of them have.
Thank you. Okay, let's hear from the applicant first. And you can, if you're all here to speak in favor, you can organize your presentation any way you want and do the order of people that you want.
My name is Lori Light, and I'm the applicant for Lot 6. And the reason for the side yard, or Lot 5, I'm sorry, Lot 5. And the reason for the side deck is that we did purchase Lot 6, that we are splitting and sharing with the owner of Lot 7. So that's why we wanted to move, to see if we could get a deck on the side. We did present that example. It's a very ornate deck. I think it matches the front of the house. To me, it looks like a great example. We did plan on building that permanent fence structure, so it was partially blocked from the street. I think James showed the elevation on that. Any other questions? Or, I mean, we were very happy that we got the side yard. Somebody else was selling it. It was not the builder selling the side yard. It was somebody else who had purchased and then relocated somewhere else in the neighborhood.
Is there anybody else who cares to? Thanks.
I also have a rap song.
Yeah, we'll be out.
I'm Keith Hogan from the Lafayette Square Restoration Committee. We've met with the owners twice and John wants on this building. And we took a vote last week, and there was 5 members of the committee of 6 that were there, and we all voted that we approved having that porch, and we agreed that we would not object to the 10-foot, but we suggested that it may need to be negotiated down in size and screened. I would like to point out a couple of things on that street. Jan says the historic model example does not have a porch on the side. Lot 4 has a porch on the side, so we already have one house on that street that has a side porch. The other thing is the historic model example has a bay window, but none of these houses have bay windows. One of the things that the committee, we're mostly talking about the porch, but as a committee, when you look at the other 5 houses, 4 houses built already, and you compare them to the historic model example, the houses on Carroll are comparatively devoid of details. The cornices are minimal compared to the model example. The details on the windowsills they're just plain rectangles. And I'm afraid that drawing that you have is kind of small. The owner has made the effort and pushed that the cornice will be a true replica. It will have its gravitas, if you will. They put keystones in the arches. They have put the corbels under the windowsills, put the bevel on the windowsill like the original. They did pick a nice, what we thought was a nice design of the decorate the architectural elements. Another thing that this porch does, because of the contorted alley, you'll notice also the garage is well out from behind the house. In the garage and fence, the porch and the fence shield the garage. So we won't see this plain brick box at the back of that lot. John knows I've always pushed him to subdivide his property into the small slots he can get away with, and he supported that. On the east side of Doman, the LRA property. So I know it kills John not to get another house to build. We did not, at the committee, the neighborhood did not discuss the fact that we got a gap in the tooth there. We have a lot of that on Doman, lots of oversized. They have what I call the Doman Great Wall of Cedar fences. This homeowner is committing to a masonry fence with wrought iron and some wood features. So we would not particularly go out and suggest a 10-foot porch, but an 8 or a 7 or whatever you worked out with the owner, we would support. Definitely support the owner making this house more elaborate than the standard red brick box that I'm getting all kinds of pushback on.
Questions, Commissioners? Thank you. Please get a motion.
No, but I have some more questions for Jane.
Absolutely.
So Jane, have you seen the fence yet?
I have not seen the exact size.
So they'd be coming back for the fence?
Well, I'm assuming that this is preliminary, so the fence would be on the final plan.
Nate, you got a motion?
Yes, my motion is that the Preservation Board grant preliminary approval of and accept the porch as designed with the provisions of the fence that were outlined, and work with staff to have those details approved.
Is there a second? Okay. Discussion.
Hear anything what Al?
Yes. This is why you are against having such districts in your ward if we don't always follow them. I would point out this is new construction.
Okay.
It takes advantage of a situation that was not there before. Used to be on a single lot, and now there's a second lot there. It is a carefully considered porch.
It is a careful.
With a considerately designed fence. And finance is not good. But I also recall the discussion of the original 7 houses. There was some mixing and matching going on that got us to approve it, because we were impressed by the construction of several houses in the past. Now, I should probably say that I expect to be entertained on this porch at some point in the future. And the difference between a 8-foot porch and a 10-foot porch may make a difference to me. So, I hope that this motion is approved, and if there is a tie, I can look for it.
Smaller buffet table.
That's not happening. Further discussion, Commissioners?
Well, the problem I have is really the loss of house. And we had this development in front of us for preliminary review before, and we had a larger lot and a bigger gap. I don't think we would have approved it. So, that's kind of the problem, or what I don't like. The other thing I don't get, I guess, Jan, I don't see. Well, it's a wider porch, but then you also have the steps coming off of it. So there's that. I mean, so we're talking a 10-foot porch, and then we're talking another 7 feet of stairs.
But remember that a privacy fence under the standard makes it a private yard, and anything hidden by the fence, the standards specifically say, is not visible.
Right.
Well, I have a couple comments. One is if the one lot between this parcel, this house and house by Main Street is being sold provided in town, that basically eliminates the possibility of I'm familiar with this porch on Benton Place in the alley. It's kind of strange when I personally don't like it, but I do know there are a couple of other porches in Lafayette Square that might
Further discussion?
This is not specific to this building, but when there was testimony about the other buildings, I guess I'm a bit troubled because it sounded as if there was some concern in the neighborhood that they weren't built to the model example of standards. And so I guess I'm concerned about how we deal with that sort of situation. Well, it's not specific to this, because it sounds like they're going the extra mile, which is much appreciated. But,
When I listened to that testimony, I didn't hear the first part of the comment, I heard the second part, which was the neighborhood group saying, these folks are doing more than you all have approved, than you all approved before. Now, that's a caution of what you're doing here, but it's also a small point in favor. Okay, Commissioners, is there any further discussion? There's a motion on the floor, it's been made and seconded, and I'm going to call a roll. Commissioner Bassman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, do you vote yes or no?
yes.
Commissioner Richardson, do you vote yes or no? Commissioner Byzantine, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
The ayes have it, the motion carries. There's preliminary review. Okay, Commissioners, we are going to now convene as a panel that hears appeals of denial. I verify that there is a roll, and since we first convened, that we have been joined by Commissioner Robinson, Commissioner Richardson. Anybody else come in that I did not know at the beginning?
Just for a second, question. In regards to your concern about my comment, the neighborhood organization has started addressing that issue. And we talked to Jan about a month ago, and coming up through the system. I've been ill and busy, so I haven't had a chance to talk to Betsy yet. So we'll do that, and then we'll bring, because there's some technical changes we need to make to the ordinance anyway. There's some conflicts, so it's in the works.
Okay, great. Commissioners, we are now convened as an admin board to consider appeal denials, calling agenda item E3222, Missouri.
Andrea Gagan, Agricultural Resources Officer, Repository Tell Truth. This is 3242 Missouri. There are actually two separate permit applications. One is for the chain link fence, and one is for the front porch roof. This is the building in question.
Sorry, I was looking at my phone. Did you introduce the ordinance?
No, I understand.
Okay, sorry. I don't mean to interrupt.
It's introduced into the record ordinance 4689, enabling ordinance, and ordinance 67175, and also my agenda presentation. This is the location, as you see, it's located on Alley, Missouri. This is the front porch. This roof and the post and gutter system is what was added to the building. The porch deck and handrail were previously there. This is our detail of porch roof. This is a shot looking from the street toward the portion of the chain link fence that was erected at the front. And the porch, to point out, the porch is all of the right side. This is a section of chain link fence that was erected without permit. And this is just a, this is sort of a somewhat model example of across the street of a porch roof that is basically just supported by a bracket instead of actual porch. It's obviously not the original to the building, but it is a more historic example than what was erected on the building. And this is the building next door, which does not have porch roof. It doesn't appear on this building, from this building, that either one of these buildings originally had a porch. They might have just had a stoop and not a. Right. Building is located in the Benton Park Local Historic District. An application to erect chain link fence around the parking area of the rear of the lot was not strict, or due to the siting of the house in adjacent alley. It must have been visible from the street, the alley, and the side of 3242 Missouri, is considered a cement public facade. This install does not meet the historic district standards. When we went out to look at the property, it was noted that the fence had already been erected. At that time, it was also noted that the porch had been erected as well. The owner subsequently applied for a permit for that as well. We denied both permits and has appealed. The Benton Park neighborhood has submitted a letter supporting the staff. They request that the legal porch be removed, the porch roof of the historical context model example being installed, restore the basement windows. Now, the
appears that these two windows have been covered for quite some time. It does appear in the photo that the owner submitted, or the applicant submitted, that this window was not boarded previously. The roof, paint, furniture, wall, it does appear that he did get a permit to repaint the building. However, he submitted photos of building previously and the color now, and the only thing that was approved was to paint it into the existing color. As you can see, it is not the same color as it was originally. He also, the applicant had a permit to sort of see here, there is an addition here. This addition was erected, applicant did get a permit to erect this addition. However, the permit was issued in December, and the 6 months, I believe, will be that extended by the inspector. There was supposed to be trim on the corners and at the bottom. There was also supposed to be a faux window with a shutter closure to match this window here. And they were also supposed to do large. And as of now, I don't believe that this is done. So here's the neighborhood letter, and I'm also submitting an email from another person in Fountain Hill, or Haven Park, that concurs with this park. The owner did submit some examples of porches for support his porch construction. However, none of those porches were historic, so they don't meet the requirements of the model sample. Based on these preliminary findings, the Cultural Resource Office recommends the Preservation Board uphold the Director's denial of applications as they do not comply with the Benton Park Local Historic District.
Thank you very much. John Skaggs. Mr. Skaggs, we're building a record here. Tell us your name, please.
My name is John Skaggs,
Your address where staff could find you again.
10811 Cantor Way.
Is the testimony you're going to give, is the testimony you're going to give the truth?
Yes.
Okay. What is your appeal?
Well, first I'd like to say thank you for allowing me to appeal. Regarding the porch roof and the fence, I would like to point out that it's not the porch that I erected, it's just the roof, and it's not the whole fence, it's just the part around the parking pad. The actual chain link fence was already there. And I do appreciate all that Cultural Resources does, and I'm willing to comply with their guidelines that they set under most circumstances. Again, I'm here to appeal the denial of the porch roof and the chain link fence because I feel that our porch roof does indeed meet the historic guidelines. And although I agree that the fence does not, it is my hope that the board will find that the chain link fence was the best option and provide a variance for it. When I first applied for the permit for the porch roof, I was told I was denied because it had to be flat. And I told Bob that I did not want to build that because I didn't want to allow water to go back to the property, and it would be less appealing than the roof that we put up at the angle. I was told to go out and find roofs in the area that were like mine, so I did that, and I went out and found the roofs that had that angle and that weren't flat. And I submitted some that had the brackets in them. The one that they gave as an example that was across the street is the one that I submitted as an example. In truth, I wouldn't mind having the roof with the brackets, but for our particular roof, it's not practical because of the roof size. Our roof covers an area of just over 6 feet long, and if we were to use brackets on a roof that size, it would be unstable. So the post that we have now is more stable than the brackets. The brackets are really more effective on the smaller roofs, not a roof of that size. I've submitted several other examples of roofs like ours, which Andrea mentioned, without brackets. Most of them are located in Benton Park and Fox Park. I don't see how they cannot be historic. I mean, I went out and I told you I'm find examples, that's what I did. The agenda for today, which I just received today, on page 40, section 206.2 states, does not comply. No evidence of previous porch has been submitted, and the porch is not based on a model example. First of all, I think you're talking about the porch roof, not the porch. It is constructed out of unfinished material and it's not painted or stained. I disagree with this statement because I did provide evidence that there was a porch roof existing when we bought the house. I have a picture of it if you'd like to see it. You should already have it, actually, I hope. I also provided evidence that we built the exact same style of roof, only using different materials, which are the same materials that they would have used 75 years ago, and is also the same style they would have used 75 years ago. Although I do feel that we already comply, I'm willing to make some changes. It was mentioned that we did not paint or stain it. We actually did stain it, it's just a natural sealant. But I would be willing to paint or stain it a different color if the board so desires. I would also be willing to add a side panel, since I have found similar roofs with a side panel that looks nice. I also sent one in the pictures that I sent for the example. And I actually, looking back on the roof that was existing, and actually the old beat up metal roof, it actually did have a side panel, and we did not add that, so I would be willing to add that. Now, as for the fence, I do agree that a chain link fence does not comply with cultural resources. It seems a little odd to me because it seems like 7 out of 10 fences within the eyesight of this property, 7 out of 10 yards have chain link fences within the eyesight of this property. I would like to take it down. It would look a lot better if it was down, but I can't for safety reasons. As you can tell, you can look at the picture there, you can see that there is a retaining wall going around the perimeter of the property. It varies from about maybe 1 foot tall to about 3 or 4 feet tall as it goes back. That fence was already there, and I would love to take it down, but if we took it down, somebody's going to fall off that and get hurt and come back and sue me or you probably. So we need to leave the fence up there for safety reasons. We added the parking pad, which we did get a permit for, and then we realized that in doing so, we created a giant hole in our fence line, which was unacceptable. So like I said, I thought about taking the whole thing down, but decided against it for safety reasons. The chain link fence was already there, and we only added it to fill the hole that was created in the fence line whenever we put the parking pad in. We could not use a different material because you want everything to be symmetrical. We cannot use wood. That would require changing the whole fence to wood, and that we would end up having a 6-foot privacy fence going on in our front yard, which we didn't want for obvious reasons. The wrought iron fence would be a great solution, but there's no way we can afford that. It's going to cost about $12,000 to put it around the whole yard. I hope that you can agree with me that the chain link fence is the optimal solution and that you will allow for a variance. I might suggest that it mentions that the fence was not painted a dark color on page 40, section 403.1, that we painted black as is required by the standards. Once again, thank you for the opportunity for the appeal.
What did you just testify?
In the agenda that I received today, it highlighted that page 40, section 403.1, it states that the fence was not painted a dark color as per required by the standards. I'm saying I am willing to paint it a dark color.
I missed the word I am willing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, just to clear it up, I'm willing to make some changes to the porch roof. Again, we didn't erect the porch, it's just a roof. We built it, what I thought was the exact same way. It was the existing porch, just a different material, wooden material, which is historic. There would be a panel at the top, maybe third or quarter of it that we would add, and then we could also stain it the dark color. And then again, I would be willing to paint the fence a dark color. We did paint the fence a silver color because it was kind of rusted and, you know, a little raggedy looking, so we painted it the silver color that it was existing, but I'm willing to paint it again.
Did you block in those windows?
Pardon?
Did you block in those windows?
I know we definitely did not do the front two, and I don't remember about the other one. I want to say the neighbor's front windows are like that as well.
Is your presentation complete?
Yes.
Questions for the appellant?
No, the original porch roof that was the existing porch roof that was here, with an awning, with a was all the way an actual porch, and that's what it was.
Now, looking at those.
This is it right here, if you want to see it.
Yeah, they have it, I
Looking
have
at the back of the photo. What is that?
That's the post, there's that addition that we did up top, what that was, there was two rear decks. That post that you see there is the support for the addition and what used to be the deck that was existing.
And that was built with permit?
It was built with purpose, not been finished to the first permit.
No, we didn't do that.
I know the post didn't, but the rest of it, yeah.
Were you asking about the pole, the post, or the?
I'm asking about the structure back there.
The top part is siding, that's the addition. The post below it was existing.
Are you finished building on that?
Yes.
And
We do have the trim on there. I don't know if you can see in that picture, but it's on there now. But we didn't do the shutters for several reasons. One, we couldn't find any that size, and then we thought that if we did that, we'd have to cut into the siding, and even though you put trim and caulk around it, eventually it would leak, and it would cause damage to the addition. So I didn't want to purposely build something that would eventually get damaged.
but, I mean, didn't you pull a permit to do that?
I did, but it wasn't my idea to put it on there. And I'm kind of thinking, since I didn't do anything extra, that, you know, maybe I can take it off. I mean, I just get an addendum to take that part off. It'd be fine with me.
I can stress that.
Sure.
It was approved, it would not have been approved without the windows, the windows.
I just can't think that the shutters on there would look right. It would look silly and it would get damaged.
Well, it should have been done before the siding was put on, and that would have, you know.
There's still going to be a gap between that and the siding.
I'm the one who approved the permit for it. I call it the staff.
Thank you. Is your testimony the truth, sir?
The truth. Additions of that nature require to be based on model example. So Jan and I sat down and figured out, okay, it'd be hard to find an example that would, you know, help him build that. We sat down and designed for him, trimmed it out, put the shutters in there and said, look, you know, try to find an addition that, you know, a model example. You do this, you will approve your permit. He said, fine. He approved it, and it was.
I mean, with all due respect, I thought we were here for the porch roof and the fence.
And that is an excellent point. I gather we will see that later?
Yes, I believe so. No.
I mean, I'm totally willing to put the shutters on there if it's,
Well,
you know.
you're right, we're not talking about that one today.
I'm uncomfortable on a number of levels here. First of all,
Thank you, sir.
yes. So under the historic ordinances, if the fence is already there, they can't add to it, right? They have to just keep whatever fence is. What I'm more troubled about, I am troubled about a number of things, but one of them is that this whole building is painted. And one of these slides that you saw, even the example here, this building was not painted at all.
It's very hard to tell. I think if you look really close on the thing, a lot of it is worn off, I think. But technically, under the Bennett Park standard, you can repaint, if it isn't painted, you can repaint it the same color. It's covered under routine maintenance. However, it wasn't painted the same color.
So the bricks were painted?
It is the same color that it was. I mean, maybe the light was different, or the camera was different in the previous picture. It's the same color that it was painted before. And it's the same color as many of the other buildings in the area have been painted. It's the same color that I've painted at least 20 of them. And I've never had a problem.
Commissioners, further questions?
Well, the other thing is, when I look at this, it looks like, in the one photo we have here, it's the type of boards that our board of crew uses with the reddish color and the writing that's on them frequently on the basement window. So I'm not sure that the previous owner would have done that. I think that it would have been secured from breaking. That's what it looks like. So that could easily come off, sure.
Okay, to discuss this, we're going to do a motion. Should we make a motion?
Yes. I move that the board uphold the director's denial that the chain link fence and front porch do not comply with Bennett Park character standards.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, discussion? Commissioner Goodman?
I don't really have anything else there. I think it's been covered pretty well.
Alderman Schmidt? Anybody else?
I just can't believe that that's the same color as that, you know?
It could be the camera, the light, the paint, or the house.
But if it's toned down,
Yes, the paint, not the board.
Sir, I need to step up. Was there any evidence of hardship?
It was not. Dave?
Do we have any additional?
Commissioners, the motion on the floor, made and seconded. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Director's denial is upheld. Calling agenda item F, 2835 Shenandoah, and thank you for your patience.
Office staff, Mr. Teleshrew, interim ordinance 64689 by PowerPoint presentation, and also Fox Park ordinance 6609.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have to continue. Pretending that we haven't for a second, I would like to make a complaint about that back appendage.
Oh, yeah. The name?
Go ahead.
Okay, it's also a appeal denial for painting of masonry, the Fox Park Historic District. So this is the property, 2835. That's the line. 2835 Shenandoah. This is the site next to the site. This is a picture of the work. So essentially what happened was the owner painted the sills and the foundation a certain color, so it was kind of a painting issue. The original, when they purchased the property, this was the condition. It was kind of a pinkish hue, orange pinkish hue. Sills and the bunch were painted that color. They painted this kind of a pale green, olive-ish color. The color's kind of washed out here. Jan did her best to kind of bring it back in on a sunny day. I'm going to actually give you a look at the application that Mr. Burke submitted. It kind of shows you the green of the colors back. A better representation. Now, it's in between that and the, again, given the light kind of washed out, so it's in between that. So Fox Park has similar standards about painting as we just heard in Bennett Park. if you paint it the same color that it was prior, or it's maintenance, and you don't need a permit for it. Or also the color of the underlying material, which in this case would have been a white limestone. As an example, this is across the street, it shows you, what that would look like prior. So, this is red. Talk to the owner, she wanted to appeal the decision, to deny it, that's why we're here. Again, this is on the same page. It's maintenance, in the same color, again, not the most ideal color before, which was this kind of an orangish, pinkish color. They went with green. You can see a little better on this one, it shows the upper sill. Again, they painted the wood, which you don't need a permit for, of course, but painted the masonry is the issue. Try this one here. Sorry, very much.
If you were planning on buying a lottery ticket today, don't buy one for me.
Not. So again, that's the issue.
So it's the masonry.
It's the sill, right, it's the sill, and it's also the foundation, which is right here. So, it's two front sills and the foundation.
The foundation and the sill match now?
They do match now. Yes, they do.
Or what, how do you tell that?
Again, the light is kind of washed out, and I do apologize. Washed out, but again, it's the olive green. That color is, of course, not the color that was there prior, and it's not the color of the underlying material, which is white stone. We haven't heard anything from Fox Park in regards to the appeal. So again, without a permit, doesn't fit the color or the natural snow. Given that, PRO recommends that the board uphold the denial of the application as does not comply with the Fox Park local historic standards.
Thank you. Okay, we need the appellant. We're building a record here, so tell us your name, please.
My name is Kelly Timmerberg, owner of 2835 Shenandoah. I can be reached at 1503 Heritage Manor.
Is your testimony the truth?
Yes, my testimony is true.
What is your appeal?
Our appeal is the color of the painting to revert it back to like a limestone color, I think is what the district is asking for. When we first purchased the house back in December, one of the first questions I had from multiple neighbors is, are you please going to change the paint color? Because it has been like a Home Depot orange since minimally 2003. I have an affidavit from the neighbor across the street saying he moved in 2003, and it was orange, and he said 6 months before we purchased the building, they repainted it orange. So the orange was still there.
Oddly enough, in compliance with the ordinance.
I guess. So I'm not sure. I apologize for not pulling a painting permit because I wasn't aware. So I know ignorance is, a whole other story.
Did you submit your affidavit?
I did. I'm not sure if I had any attachment or not, but I can give it to you now.
Great.
Here. Oops, sorry. So we actually had entertained the idea of putting a limestone color back on as I kind of drove around the neighborhood back in December. We actually picked out a few limestone colors and we put it on just to test it, and it just looked so dramatically different from, the rest of the building being brick, and then the rest of it was going to have the greenish tones on it. So we decided to go with the same color on the limestone, so the whole house had the same look. So going from orange to green was better. And then actually throughout the interior of the house has the same theme throughout the house. We're just trying to carry the same theme. I guess that's really all I have to say. Do anyone have any questions? We're requesting a variance, to keep the green.
And what would the grounds for the variance be?
That it was already painted, and we're just trying to keep the building all one color.
So is that your residence? Or is it a rental?
Not yet, we're still, still working on it.
But you're able to.
Your main objection to the limestone colors are too bright, too much contrast?
It just didn't, I mean, in my opinion, it didn't look good.
Were there some around in the neighborhood you were driving around that did look good? Because you noticed other examples.
I actually submitted several examples, whenever I sent that in last week, of homes in the neighborhood that have painted limestone. And there is one actually, 2719 Shenandoah, I think it is, actually has almost the same color as ours. If it is the true, I couldn't find like an exact limestone match, paint match. With a few colors I put on, just it didn't look good to me. It could have already been painted. You don't have that kind of like sandy type of finish or like stone type of finish. It was already like an enamel-based finish, which is very smooth. So I had submitted, I don't know, 5 or 6 other drawings or pictures in the email. Did you receive those? I have a few here with me. They're painted on or printed on just a color printer, so they don't look, that good. And do you want me to give these to you guys? The one that looked the closest to ours is actually very dark. Here's one that has a dark green. This is the one that has the closest color. And it's gray. Gray. List out a few of the addresses. I had,
If we have the documents
in the email?
That's going to be done.
Okay. Even like some of the businesses around have painted foundations as well.
I was looking at my phone for a second. Did you introduce evidence of financial hardship?
No.
Question? Do you have anything else for your idea?
I don't think so. No, we didn't.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Let's get a motion on the floor. We'll begin discussion.
I move that we overturn the director's denial and grant a variance to allow beaches masonry.
Is there a second? Your motion, just to clarify, your motion is silent on no.
I'm over.
All the way down.
So I understand generally what we consider masonry, but it's not clear to me because at least in this comment that's on here, it says masonry includes brick, ornamental pressed brick, and terracotta. Does it also include limestone?
Limestone is masonry.
I understand that, but in this ordinance, does it define masonry? Doesn't matter what reality is. In this ordinance, does it define limestone or stone as masonry? If it does not, then it may not be, unless it says includes but is not limited to. If limestone may not be masonry, unless it's defined as such in the ordinance itself.
Well, I think Alderman elsewhere, that place does have a parenthetical, but then later where they use masonry wall, it doesn't have a parenthetical.
Okay, I don't have the ordinance in front of me, so I don't know whether, in my mind, limestone is masonry. However, I don't know what they consider it essentially. Which is why I didn't second your motion, or I might have, you defined it as masonry, and I'm not sure if it's masonry.
Well, that's a risk of having a lawyer by it. There's two lawyers here. I'm sorry, 3.
Bob has been saying that ordinance, so he has it in front of you.
We'll look through it.
Okay. We'll take a look at it.
That,
3 lawyers, 5 is too much. I would say, it doesn't say one month.
we won't say every single kind of stone under the umbrella of masonry.
Is there any mention in their masonry in which there is not a parenthetical that says 3 different kinds of masonry? It just says masonry.
Yeah, right below, painting, right in our, the excerpts here, if you go below where the all the reading.
I guess the masonry will apply. For example, 2 or 2.1.
Stone, and that being actual point of limestone as masonry.
An attorney said to me recently, the most common definition of a term is what should be considered to be the definition of it in an ordinance. Masonry is stone materials. The other materials that are mentioned are included in masonry that there may be a bit of a more question about them. So the general understanding of the word masonry is to include all stone building materials. And I think that we're kind of developed a habit of grouping on one word, one phrase, rather than the intent of the ordinance, which is to have stone, if it has been painted, at least return it to its underlying characteristic color, which would be the limestone color. And the other fact
What's the orange?
or the existing color. And in fact, the other colors of masonry probably painted before the district was designated and then been repainted that color. So they are no guide for how we want to proceed with masonry painting. And I think that, again, it's just understood that limestone is masonry.
Actually, 6.4, painted stone elements will be repainted the same color, so they're coming from material. So, I mean, stone is stone.
Okay, Commissioners, we have the testimony before us, and everybody will weigh it according to their own viewpoint. There's a motion on the floor. It has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? The motion is to overturn the staff denial. I'm going to call the roll. Commissioner Johnson, do you vote yes or no to overturn?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt, do you vote yes or no to overturn?
I cannot, so no.
Commissioner Byzantino, do you vote yes or no to overturn?
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson, do you vote yes or no to overturn?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, do you vote yes or no to overturn?
No.
Commissioner Fassman, do you vote yes or no to overturn?
Yes.
Sorry, what did you just say? You said yes.
Yes.
I love green, it's one of my favorite colors, but not here. So you voted
Yes.
yes.
So you vote to overturn? Okay. That is 4 yeses, 2 noes, 2